Let's go Dolphins! The Dolphins are making changes, some senseless, others that could completely reshape the team's future. Trade rumors are circulating, injured players are being reshuffled, and decisions are being made by a front office that, let's be honest, should have been revamped a long time ago. Chris Grier, still here, still making questionable decisions that could cost us dearly. And now, the fate of our defense, maybe even our entire season, hangs in the balance. But before diving into this bombshell update, do me a favor, if you bleed blue and orange, hit the like button right now. And if you've been a Dolphins fan for over 20 years, through the highs and lows, and everything that's happened between them, leave a comment below saying, "Go Dolphins!" My heart bleeds blue and orange. Come on, because what's happening behind the scenes might shock you. The big news to start the week is that Storm Duck, who entered the season as the Dolphins CB1, is officially done for the year. His knee injury has landed him on injured reserve after a roller coaster start. He played week 1, injured his ankle, missed 5 straight games, then returned against Atlanta only to go down again, this time for the season. It's a brutal blow, especially considering Duck was one of the few bright spots coming out of a shaky preseason. The most confusing part? There's been no corresponding roster move announced by Chris Grier to fill that 53-man spot. That's right, absolutely nothing, which just adds more fuel to the fire. Grier is still asleep at the wheel. Now, here's where things get interesting. There's a strong belief that rookie corner Jason Marshall Jr. will be activated off IR to take that open roster spot. His 21-day practice window is already open, and while he didn't suit up against the Falcons, there's a good chance he's activated before the Ravens game. The problem is, Marshall Jr. wasn't just bad before his hamstring injury, he was a liability. His first 3 games this season were nothing short of a disaster. He gave up a perfect passer rating when targeted, allowing 7 catches on 7 targets. The coaching staff might be desperate to bring him back because of the depth issue, but let's be real, this guy wasn't ready when he was healthy. What makes them think he'll be any better fresh off an injury? Currently, the Dolphins are rolling with RUL Douglas and Jack Jones as starters. Behind them, there's Juju Brentson-Bonner, but there's a glaring hole at nickel. That's where Jason Marshall Jr. was playing before he went down, and if they activate him now, it looks like he might be forced right back into that role. Still, it would be shocking if the Dolphins relied on him heavily out of the gate. My guess is we'll continue to see the 3 safety look featuring Minkah Fitzpatrick, Dante Trader Jr., and Ifeatu Melifonwu. It's not ideal, but right now, the team is patching things together week by week. Meanwhile, another roster move came down. Kendall Sheffield has been placed on the practice squad injured list. He had been elevated twice this season, most recently for the Falcons game where he went down late. That leaves him with just 1 more elevation for the rest of the year. To fill his spot, the Dolphins brought back cornerback Ethan Robinson, a UDFA who made a name for himself with a game-sealing interception in the preseason against Detroit. Honestly, Robinson was a surprise cut after showing flashes of strong coverage skills. His QB rating when targeted in preseason was a solid 78.5, and it's fair to question why he wasn't kept around to begin with. But at least he's back now, and hopefully, he gets a chance to show what he can do, especially with how thin the cornerback room has become. And just when you think that's all, trade rumors explode out of nowhere. ESPN's Adam Schefter dropped a bomb during his appearance on the Pat McAfee show. According to Schefter, the Dolphins are expected to trade one of Jalen Phillips or Bradley Chubb before the trade deadline. Let that sink in. Not both, just one. But even that is a shocking possibility. These aren't bottom of the roster guys. These are the pass rushers this defense was supposed to be built around. Now let's unpack that. Bradley Chubb is on a massive deal with a $31 million cap hit next season. Cutting him post-June 1st saves the team over $20 million in 2026. So financially, it makes way more sense to wait until next offseason to move on. Trading him now would actually trigger a brutal $23.8 million dead cap hit in 2026. Not ideal when you're staring down a regime change, which, let's be honest, feels inevitable. A new GM, maybe even a new head coach, will want flexibility. Chris Grier's time is ticking, but sadly, not fast enough. On the other hand, Jalen Phillips is younger, cheaper, and let's be clear, better. His pass rush win rate is higher, his run defense is stronger, and even though the sack numbers don't show it, he's been the one causing the pressure that leads to sacks for guys like Chubb. The problem? Phillips has a real trade value. We're talking potentially a 3rd-round pick, maybe even higher if a team gets desperate. His injury history is concerning, Achilles, knee, but he's been getting better each week and is visibly getting his legs under him. That makes him a premium target on the trade market, because here's where things start getting even messier. Let's imagine for a second that the Dolphins actually pull the trigger and move Jalen Phillips. What message does that send? You're talking about a 26-year-old edge rusher who, despite coming off a serious injury, has shown more explosion, more disruption, and more upside than any other defensive lineman on the roster. Trading him away, while still under contract and developing, would not just be a football decision. It would be a sign that the front office is hitting the reset button. And that brings us back to Chris Grier. The fact that he's still in the building making decisions like this is unreal. Grier has had nearly a decade to construct this roster, and somehow the Dolphins are still dealing with depth issues, poor draft outcomes, and cap headaches. Storm Duck? Good find, but already out for the year. Jason Marshall Jr., a fifth-rounder thrown into a starting role way too soon. Bradley Chubb? Massive contract with declining production. And now we're talking about trading Jalen Phillips, the one guy who might actually be part of the long-term solution. It's classic Grier, and it's exhausting. But even if we set aside the front office dysfunction, the situation on the field isn't any more reassuring. The secondary is shredded. You're counting on cast-offs and rookies with barely any NFL tape to hold things down against teams like the Ravens. And this isn't just any week. It's a primetime Thursday night football matchup against Lamar Jackson and a red-hot Baltimore team. If Jason Marshall Jr. is activated and actually plays significant snaps, he'll be doing so against one of the most dynamic passing and rushing offenses in the league. That's not just risky, it's borderline negligent. Then there's the Ethan Robinson storyline. It's honestly baffling that a guy who made one of the best plays of the entire preseason was cut loose and not even kept on the practice squad. Now, with the season in flux and the cornerback room hanging by a thread, Robinson's back in the building. What does that say about the scouting and evaluation process? Was he not good enough in August, but suddenly becomes viable again in Week 9? Or is this just another sign of a team that didn't have a clear plan from the beginning? Let's circle back to Chubb for a second. If Miami doesn't trade him and waits for a post-June 1st cut, sure, the financials make more sense. But how do you justify keeping him on the roster through the second half of the season if you're trying to win now? He's expensive, and while he's flashed occasionally, he's not making game-changing plays consistently. And let's not forget, Chubb was acquired in a high-profile trade last year. Miami gave up a first-round pick for him. So now, a year later, we're looking at potentially getting nothing in return. Or worse, keeping him and letting that cap hit destroy our flexibility in 2026? Meanwhile, if the team actually does trade Phillips, you have to wonder what that does to the locker room. That's a guy who's been grinding back from injury, showing leadership, making plays, and fighting through adversity. Shipping him off sends a message that no one is safe. That can fracture a team fast, especially one that still has playoff aspirations. The Dolphins are 5-3 and in the thick of the AFC race. But without defensive stability, they're going nowhere in January. Now, I know there's a segment of the fan base that wants to believe in Mike McDaniel, and I get it. He's sharp, charismatic, and has brought a new energy to the offense. But at some point, the results need to match the hype. Injuries have played a role, sure, but injuries are part of the game. Great teams find a way to adapt. Right now, Miami looks like a team struggling to keep the wheels from falling off. And every move, or lack thereof, from the front office just adds to that anxiety. So what happens next? Will Miami activate Jason Marshall Jr. and hope for the best? Will they rely on Ethan Robinson to be a contributor after weeks on the outside looking in? Will they finally admit that the Chubb experiment was a failure and cut bait now, even if it hurts financially? Or will they blow it all up by dealing Phillips and signaling the start of a new era? These are decisions that don't just impact this season, they shape the future of the franchise. And every day that Chris Grier is allowed to make these calls is another day that risks setting the Dolphins back even further. The trade deadline is right around the corner. Moves are coming, but will they be the right ones? If you made it this far, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any breaking Dolphins updates.